Hi, welcome to CryptoCoach365, Day 58. So still in London, last day here, really looking forward to going home tomorrow finally. With regards to yesterday's topic, we talked about why Bitcoin should be spent. There's one thing I kind of forgot to mention, which is that logically the whole idea that you should hold your Bitcoin because it's the best investment doesn't actually make sense. Because if you think about it, you have dollars that they're being asked to spend instead of Bitcoin. But if you really believe that Bitcoin is actually worth a lot, or that it's going to be more specific correctly, that it's going to go up in value in the future, then you probably should not be holding any dollars. Like a rational person would sell all the dollars and buy Bitcoin instead. So in that case, you would have no choice but to spend Bitcoin, because unless you're dead, you kind of have to pay bills and feed yourself. So in that sense, yeah, you kind of have to spend Bitcoin unless you don't actually believe that Bitcoin has the future investment that you kind of would claim it does, in the same claim where you say that you should not spend it because it'll grow in value. As that said, I wanted to talk about what makes money money. There's 5 important components that define what is good money. They are durability, portability, divisibility, uniformity, and acceptability. Uniformity is also called fungibility. That's kind of the technical term. So regarding durability, and I'll give a comparison of 3 different types of money. There's Bitcoin, there's dollars or fiat government money, and there's gold, which has been the traditional money. And I claim that Bitcoin is actually the best money, and the reason is that it's, of all the money, it fits all 3 the best. So for durability, we have gold, which the reason gold was picked in the first place is because gold doesn't corrode, doesn't rust, doesn't dissolve. And the only issue with gold is that if you have a gold coin and you get to pass it around a lot, there's friction where it could wear off. Dollars are a little bit more durable in a sense that paper money can be shredded and replaced. And most money, about 95% of our dollars, are actually in digital form, and digital doesn't really doesn't spoil. You can make copies of all the ledgers and all the digital dollars in the world, and that's what banks actually do. They make backups for each other. Bitcoin is also digital, so Bitcoin is also just as durable, and even more so because you can personally back up your own Bitcoin. So like, if you lose your wallet, or if something happens to your phone or your computer, if you have a backup someplace, you can always restore it. Like, imagine if Spanish galleons taking gold across the Atlantic were to actually be able to back up their gold in case it actually sunk, as opposed to what happened, which is what they sunk and the gold would be lost. So Bitcoin does win this one. I guess dollar maybe is about the same with regards to this. The next one is divisibility. This is basically how much you can divide this money in order to pay for smaller and smaller things. With dollars, it's not really a problem because government money tends to inflate. So instead of it being more and more difficult to pay for things with pennies, it's kind of the other way, where things become more and more expensive. So you'd need more and more pennies to pay for stuff. With gold, that's actually a major problem because last I checked many months ago, maybe a year ago, gold was worth about $1,300 an ounce. So that means that if you wanted to buy a $1 worth of gold, an item that's $1 worth of gold, you would have to actually pay with 1/1000th of an ounce. And if it was something that was worth, let's say, 10 cents or less, it would be even smaller. So as a result, in order to pay for things with gold, you have to go around and pay for things in teeny tiny little flecks of gold dust, which is just impractical. That's actually why things like silver were invented. And eventually also why paper money that was backed by gold, which became government fiat, was invented too. But that kind of failed because it was too easy to separate fiat from gold. But anyway, With regards to Bitcoin, that's actually not a problem because Bitcoin is already divisible to 8 decimal places. And right now, the smallest unit of Bitcoin, the 0.000000001 Bitcoin, is referred to as a Satoshi, and that's worth a tiny little fraction of a penny. But Bitcoin is also completely in software. So if we do get to a point where one Satoshi becomes too expensive to use, we can actually theoretically change this, extend the number of digits, or just move the decimal point entirely in software. So it's not really a problem. Next one is fungibility or uniformity. This is basically where when you take a $20 bill, you don't care which $20 bill you take. They're all the same. So for gold, it's pretty much perfect because each atom of gold is the same as each other atom of gold. So there might be a problem where coins might be filled with something, or gold bars have been discovered to contain tungsten in them, so you kind of have to test them a little bit more. And unfortunately, part of fungibility is being able to test that what you're accepting is the legitimate thing. So with gold, it's kind of a problem. With dollars, fungibility is not really an issue because unless money was moved through some sort of a criminal enterprise and has a bad history, in which case you might have to get laundered, dollars pretty much are fungible as well. But there is an issue where dollars could be counterfeit, or there can be created by an unscrupulous bank, let's say. With Bitcoin, fungibility does have somewhat of the similar issue with laundered money or bad history of money that dollars do, but those issues are actually being fixed in regards to money being a little bit more mixed up automatically. And with regards to verifying that the money is actually legitimate, that is actually done completely automatically for you in whatever wallet you use. That's actually the job of miners, is to verify that all Bitcoin that is being sent back and forth, including the ones that you receive, are actually legitimate Bitcoins. So that whole thing is pretty much an automatic thing. Excuse me. Portability, that's an important one. For gold, this has been a problem for a long time, partly because you can only transact in gold in person, physically. So you have issues where when you transport it, you could get robbed or lose it. And partly because of gold's divisibility problem, you may have to transport very, very tiny dust, and it's very easy to lose small things like gold dust. So that's another reason why gold-backed paper was created too, was to make it easier to transport gold. Historically, what happened was Knights Templar opened up the very first kind of like banks, where instead of carrying your gold from the empire to the Holy Land or the Middle Eastern regions, what you can do is you can deposit gold in one quote-unquote bank of the Templars. They would issue you paper, and then you just have to carry that paper and bring it to the other bank where you're actually arriving and withdraw gold at that location. So that way, instead of carrying gold, you just have to worry about carrying a bunch of paper. And that's kind of how money evolved from gold-backed these certificates to actual just using regular paper money. But sorry, I digress. I love financial history. So with gold, it was a problem for portability. With dollars, it's not really, because paper is easier to carry, and also because a lot of dollars are now digital. So the entire world is blanketed in information technology at this point, so you can pretty much send dollars anywhere you want. Bitcoin is even more portable because Bitcoin does not rely on third parties in order to transport it, and it doesn't have barriers at the borders. So we have really moved on with regards to technology beyond borders at this point. Like when you make a call, to a point, but mostly when you email somebody or when you communicate with somebody over the internet, you probably don't even notice that they might be across the border on the other side of the planet. Unfortunately, with money, it's still, even though money is digital and moves around on digital systems like credit cards and stuff, it's still there's still a barrier at the border. So if you wanted to send money across the border, you actually know that it has to go across the border and it has to go through a whole bunch of policies and other things. Bitcoin is like internet, it doesn't care about borders. And in fact, Bitcoin is entirely information based. And when you send a Bitcoin someplace, all you're actually sending is just information, about 250 characters of data. So any way that you can send information, even if you just pick up a phone and tell the other person, hey, write these characters down, you can send Bitcoin. So it's very, very highly portable. You can even carry it in your head. Like if you remember that information to actually send it, you can just walk across the border, carry it in your head, nobody will actually know you have it. So Bitcoin is like the most portable money we've ever had. And then finally is acceptability. This is where Bitcoin currently is still losing a lot, but this is growing. Acceptability is basically how easily you can spend it someplace. So gold is probably the loser in this case because like no places take gold at all anymore. Bitcoin is growing and it's growing pretty fast, but dollars and government currencies obviously have a leg up on this, but that's in part because they've had over a century, I guess, ahead of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has some catching up to do. So in that sense, Bitcoin does kind of loses on the last one, but with regards to the big ones that make money very good sound money, which is it's durable, it's divisible, it's portable, and it's fungible, meaning it's can't be counterfeit and every unit is exactly the same. Bitcoin pretty much wins hands down against dollars, against government currencies, against gold, and really against any other currency. And that is hopefully why the last portion, the acceptability, will be a very short-term problem because people do like to accept good money. There's I believe it was Metcalfe's law, but there's this idea going around that bad money drives out good money. It's kind of a law that, well, people call it a law, but essentially this is like if government were to issue, let's say there was a $20 silver coin, and then government were to issue a $20 coin that was not silver. What people would do is they would hoard the $20 silver coin because that's good money, it's actual silver in there, and they would spend the $20 non-silver coin because it's obviously cheaper, it doesn't have silver in it. So that's the idea that bad money drives out good. The bad money you would want to get rid of, and the good money you would pretty much hoard. But that kind of that has a very important component to it, which is that in this case, government actually defines what the value of something is. So in this case, the government said the $20 silver coin and a $20 regular metal coin are supposed to be worth the same $20. And that's why the bad money drives out good. But with competing money, there's no government decree about what it's supposed to be worth. So in that case, if you had a choice between money that is pretty terrible versus money that is good, and the price of the money is entirely determined by the market, you might want to be able to get rid of the worse money, but don't forget there's always two parties to a transaction. So a merchant would also want to accept the better money instead of the bad money that's losing value. And if the merchant is forced to accept the bad money, he will probably charge you a premium to do it and then try to get rid of it as fast as they can as well. So, and by that action, when everybody's trying to get rid of money, it drives the price of that money or the value of that money down to zero. Because really, all the big money that has ever dominated the world throughout history, whether it's florins or pesos or more recently dollars. That money did not end up dominating because it was bad money. It was dominating because it was very, very good, very widely accepted, and very stable, sound money. So in effect, or in reality, good money in actual competition always drives out bad money. And Bitcoin is definitely good money, and that's actually what it's been doing. It's been driving out bad money, especially in countries that have troubled currencies like Venezuela and partly in Greece. Argentina is really picking it up too. In part in China too. It's really growing in China, but partly that's because of mining. Partly it's because China has very strong currency control, so people kind of use it to skirt that. But in part because people also are concerned about Chinese currency inflation, because that's how China competes with the world. They try to inflate their currency to make their products cheaper artificially in order for everybody else to buy it. So Bitcoin, good money, will continue to grow, continue to drive out the bad money, and if we have our say, we'll eventually take over all the money. So anyway, hopefully this wasn't too boring, but this was fairly important knowledge to know. What specifically makes good money is, again, durability, fungibility or uniformity, divisibility, portability, and acceptability. Anyway, heading back home tomorrow, so I'll have to see where I can record the video, maybe in private someplace, but we'll see. It's pretty much an all-day flight for me, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, see you guys tomorrow.